I was asked recently why I love edible insects, and I think the answer is pretty simple. One, they're incredibly sustainable to farm, more than any other alternative protein, obviously much more sustainable than commercial meat farming. And the second is they're a superfood. So, in the very beginning, I was very skeptical. I had deeply ingrained Western cultural bias against insects, and so I was resistant to eating them until I learned they're incredibly sustainable, they're really healthy, and they actually can taste delicious. And so, for me, the combination of all of those things, as an early adopter, as someone who is always looking for the next health biohack, advantage for myself, those were the only things that really I needed to know and to truly understand in order to make the switch to embrace edible insects. And so, if you're on the fence, if you're not sure about this whole insect trend, it's very, very simple. Those cultural biases that you have against eating insects, they come from one of two things. Either they come from Christopher Columbus and his very damaging, racist view of the indigenous people when he landed in the quote unquote New World in the Americas, and he saw the indigenous local people eating insects, and he wrote very, very horrible things about that they were savages and they were eating bugs and the dirt and all of these horrible things. And so that cultural bias has continued over the past couple of hundred years. And it stems also, the other thing, is from an agrarian society where pests such as locusts, which were eating the crops, the corn or the wheat, those things were very damaging and could cause famine. And so over hundreds of years in Europe and the Americas, especially in the New World Americas when the Europeans landed in North America, insects were considered a pest. And then, of course, with Columbus's eurocentric viewpoint of we don't eat bugs because we are superior, insects were also considered the food of the poor, etc. There's been other examples over the past 100 years, though, of the food of the poor, or the prisoners, or whatever. If you look at the story of lobster and sushi, both of those were reviled by Westerners, were looked at as disgusting and gross and food of poor people, that not something that we superior people eat. And obviously that changes. Insects are going to be the same thing because there is nothing more sustainable and there's nothing more nutritious in terms of a sustainable protein than edible insects. And so if you're hearing about this trend of the food of the future, if you're thinking about, well, I don't know if I'm going to eat insects, let me tell you, I was there, I get it, but we have a moral obligation to do the right thing when you understand, when you are aware, when you have the information. And so for me, when I learned how sustainable they are and how healthy they are, it would be a morally wrong choice for me to continue to reject insects at that point, because I know they're really good for the planet and they're really good for me. And so at that point, there's no real choice if I want to do the right thing for myself and for the environment. There's no choice other than to say, okay, I need to embrace insects and I need to learn more about why they're so sustainable to farm. I need to learn more about why they're so good for me. I need to learn more about the nutritional values that they have. Not only protein, but vitamin B12, calcium, iron, zinc, a full amino spectrum, all the omega fatty acids. They're high in prebiotic fibers, which are good for a healthy gut microbiome, the gut-brain connection, which is all of this new information is starting to come out. Honestly, there's so much benefit from farming insects and from eating insects that you would be absolutely crazy to continue rejecting the idea simply because in your mind you think they're going to taste like something that they absolutely don't, or in your mind you think that they're creepy crawlies or these other words that are out there. Insects are very similar to shrimp or lobster, which unless you're a vegan or vegetarian, you probably eat and you don't think anything about it. I mean, shrimp are just grasshoppers of the sea, or cockroaches of the sea, actually. And I love to eat cockroaches also. Farmed cockroaches are delicious and they're really healthy. So keep those things in mind. I encourage you to do more research, which is what I did and what I have continued to do over the past several years. There's nothing better for your body and for the planet, and the combination of those things. In terms of a sustainable superfood, insects are it. And so I encourage you to learn more and make the right decision for yourself and for the planet.